Imagine standing in your childhood living room, laptop open, heart hammering so loud you can hear it in your ears. You've just shown your parents the business plan you've bled 2 years for. A working prototype. 8 companies ready to sign. All you need is $70,000 to change your life forever. And your father doesn't even look up from his newspaper. It's too risky, he says. Your mother nods like he'd just read the weather. You have a stable job, Ayla. Don't gamble everything. You close the laptop. The snap echoes louder than any scream you wanted to let out. Because in that moment you realize the real gamble was ever believing they would choose you. And what happened next? They handed my younger sister almost $750,000 for a luxury parties. And a white BMW. Then came crawling to my door when every penny vanished and the bank started circling their house. This is the story of the day I finally said no, and how that single, quiet words set me completely free. If you've ever been the responsible one who got nothing while the favorite got everything. If you've ever had to build your dreams with your own broken hands, because family refused to lift a finger, this one is for you. Stay until the end. Because the moment they stood in my living room demanding I sell the home I almost lost everything to keep. You're going to feel that justice in your bones. My name is Ayla. I grew up in a red brick house in Austin that looked perfect from the street. White shutters, manicured lawn, fairy lights every Christmas. Inside, the solar system revolved around one person, my younger sister, Rosie. I was the quiet, straight-up, invisible older daughter. Rosie was the star, and stars, apparently, need endless fuel. When I was 16, all I wanted was a $3,000 used Honda, so I wouldn't melt on the city bus in 105-degree heat. Dad's answer was, "You're responsible enough to figure it out." 2 years later, Rosie turned 16, and the backyard turned into a literal showroom. Fairy lights, balloons, a brand new white Jeep with a giant red bow. I stood there clapping while neighbors cheered, smile glued on, stomach in knots. At 17, I found a summer coding boot camp for $500. I printed the syllabus, highlighted testimonials, practiced my speech for weeks. Mom barely glanced at it. You can learn that stuff free on YouTube, honey. 3 weeks later, they put Rosie on a plane to New York for a $12,000 acting intensive. New luggage, new wardrobe, celebratory steak dinner downtown. I ate cereal alone in my room that night and told myself it didn't matter. I won first place at the state science fair. Huge trophy, my photo in the paper. I walked in bursting. The living room was packed with aunts and uncles circling Rosie's new ballet portraits. Mom took my trophy with one hand, said that's nice, set it on the coffee table, and went right back to gushing about Rosie's natural grace. By morning, the trophy was buried under gossip magazines. That was the day I stopped bringing things home to show them. College came. Partial scholarship across the country. They reminded me how expensive California was and handed me a $200 prepaid phone plan, so I wouldn't struggle. Rosie got into an elite arts academy in Dallas. Full ride from Mom and Dad's bank account, plus a going-away party with catered barbecue and a slideshow of her journey. I learned to survive on scraps of hope and pure spite. I waitressed double shifts, lived off rice and frozen vegetables, saved every dime. By 25, I had $40,000 put away, and an idea that kept me awake at night. Software that would revolutionize construction project management. I built a working prototype in my bedroom. 8 companies sent letters of intent. I just needed seed money to hire 2 people and finish the build. $70,000. That's when I did the dumbest thing I've ever done. I flew home thinking blood might finally mean something. I walked into the living room on a quiet Saturday. Laptop ready, numbers printed, rehearsed speech shaking in my throat. I truly believed this was the moment they'd finally see me. I finished the pitch. Silence. Dad folded his newspaper once. Slowly. Too risky. Mom nodded. You have a stable job. Why throw it away? They didn't ask one question. Didn't look at the projections. Didn't even pretend. I closed the laptop and swallowed a hurt so familiar it almost felt like home. 4 months later, I'm in my showbox apartment in San Jose. Eyes burning from 3-a.m. debugging. Phone rings. Mom's voice is pure champagne. Rosie's starting a luxury event planning company. We're helping her launch. Office in Uptown Dallas. ABMW for client meetings. 7-100-20-5-$1,000 startup loan. I sat down hard on the floor. $725,000. For a 23-year-old with zero business plan and an Instagram full of brunch photos. Everything that was too risky for me was suddenly pocket change for the golden child. That night I didn't cry. I stared at the ceiling until the sun came up and something inside me went ice cold. If they wouldn't bet on me, I would bet everything on myself. I refinanced my tiny condo until the bank owned more of it than I did. Combine that with every cent I'd saved. Rented the cheapest, ugliest office I could find, peeling paint, leaking roof. Heater that sounded like a dying cat. Hired Miguel, fresh out of college and starving for a chance, and Rachel, who could sell ice to penguins. 3 folding chairs, 1 dented Goodwill table, and a dream that now had my entire net worth riding on it. We called the company Build Flow. The first 6 months almost killed us. 18-hour days. Instant noodles for dinner. I coded until my wrists screamed. A huge client ghosted us 2 days before signing the contract that would have kept the lights on. I sat alone in that dark, leaky office, rain drumming on the roof, staring at a bank balance of $11.47. For one terrifying minute, I heard my father's voice, too risky. Then I remembered the sound of that newspaper folding. I wiped my face, opened my laptop, and kept going. And then, like the universe finally took pity, a company in Sacramento signed a 1-year pilot. Small, but real money. We screamed, hugged, ate $1 pizza on the floor, and cried like idiots. Meanwhile, in Texas, Rosie's company bled cash like an open artery. $5,000 floral arches, $300 champagne flutes, parties just to network. Clients vanished. The BMW got repossessed. The bank started circling the family home. That's when the calls began. First Mom, voice trembling. Ayla, honey, we might lose the house. If you could just send $100,000. Then Dad grabbed the phone. You're doing well now. We raised you. Time to give back. Sell the condo if you have to. Rosie's texts were straight venom. You owe us. Stop being selfish. I let them ring. I let the messages stack dot. And then one random Tuesday, the doorbell rang like a fire alarm. I opened it. There they were. All 3 of them. Dad stone-faced, Mom red-eyed, Rosie arms crossed like she was the one who'd been wronged. Dad brushed past me without waiting for an invitation. They sat on my couch like they still owned the place. Mom started soft. No one could have predicted the market would change. Dad cut in. You have the ability to help. Sell this place. Save the family. Rosie finally spoke, voice dripping entitlement. You're doing well. Why can't you do something for us for once? That word, once, almost made me laugh. I took one slow breath and let 30 years of silence finally have a voice, for once. Rosie, you've been given everything your entire life. Ballet, camps, cars, 7-100- and $20-5,000 and a luxury office. When I asked for $70,000 with a working product and signed letters of intent, you all said it was too risky. Do you hear yourselves? Rosie rolled her eyes. Dad tried the old line. We believed in her dream. I looked him dead in the eye. I had contracts in writing. I had revenue projections. I had proof. You didn't even look. Mom started crying. We didn't want you to struggle. I answered softer than I felt. I struggled anyway, every single day. The room went so quiet I could hear the hum of my refrigerator. I kept going, calm, steady, lethal. You trusted me to survive alone. You trusted her to be rescued at every turn. And now that her choices have consequences, you want me to light my life on fire to put out yours. Dad's face hardened. So you're just going to let us lose everything? I looked at all three of them. Really looked and felt. Nothing, no anger, no guilt, just clarity. I'm sorry you're scared, but I am not selling the home I almost lost to build this company. I am not your backup plan anymore. Rosie jumped up. You're heartless. I didn't flinch. No, I'm finally done being invisible. Dad's parting shot. You'll regret this. I walked to the door, opened it, and stepped aside. I already spent a lifetime regretting things that weren't mine to carry. They walked out. Mom paused on the threshold, eyes pleading for the old Ayla who would cave. I gave her nothing. The door clicked shut, soft, certain, final. I leaned against it and let the silence wrap around me. Tears came, then stopped. Not because the pain was gone, but because I had finally chosen myself. And for the first time, choosing myself didn't feel selfish. It felt like breathing. 6 months later, the red brick house went up for sale. Dad pulled from retirement early. Mom started volunteering at church 7 days a week. Rosie moved in with a boyfriend and posted carefully filtered photos. That couldn't quite hide the fallout. Build flow. We signed enterprise contracts, moved into glass offices with actual windows, doubled the team, then tripled it. I traded my tiny condo for a quiet house in Palo Alto with a garden, where I drink coffee under the stars and no one ever asks me to be smaller. Some nights I still hear that newspaper folding in my head, but now it sounds like a page turning, not a door closing. Saying no didn't destroy my family. It just showed me the cracks were there long before I ever spoke up. And walking away from their guilt didn't make me heartless. It made me hold Dot. So if you've ever had to draw a line that shook your entire world, if you've ever chosen yourself when everyone said you owed them your future, this one's for you. You don't need their investment. You only need to stop waiting for it. If this story gave you that deep, delicious exhale of justice, smash the like button. Drop your own I finally said no moment in the comments. I read every single one. Subscribe because next week's revenge is even colder. Tap the bell. Grab the next video on screen. And remember, the sweetest payback is building a life so beautiful they can never say you needed them again. Stay fierce. Stay free. And never shrink for people who never saw your size in the first place. I'll see you in the next one.